Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon, down in Nashville, Tennessee.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We're thrilled to death that you're listening to our little show where we talk about guitar gear.
Yes.
And talk about the people who make guitar gear.
Yes.
And talk about the people who demo and do
live
all
and
kinds
breathe
of all the things.
Guitar gear.
Yes, movers and shakers in the scene, Daddy-O.
Yeah, cool.
Yes,
Cool.
and tonight we've got a very special guest. All right, special guest, who are you?
I'm Tye from Shock the Fox.
All right,
Hey!
Shock the Fox.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to dig into that one. I'm sure you get a lot of questions about that. Tye, where are you calling from today?
I'm outside of Chicago, a little town called Libertyville. Former home of Tom Morello, believe it or not.
Yes,
yeah.
Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, in case anybody doesn't know that, which, there's
Also
a few out there.
toured with Bruce Springsteen.
What?
I saw him play with Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I'm serious. I know you're like, that's not the right guy.
No,
And
I
I'm like,
believe it.
Yes, it is.
I believe it. He's out there.
Yep.
He does things.
Yep.
All right. Well, good for all you Bruce Springsteen fans. And we have got a lovely show tonight for you, everyone. We're going to talk to Tye about his cool guitars. Tye, where can people find the things that you do right now?
Probably where they can find most of the things is on my Instagram, on Shock the Fox. I do most of my stuff there. I do the occasional YouTube video, but yeah, the Instagram page is where most of it is. I also have a website, but I update that once a year, for crying out loud.
Okay. Well, we'll work with that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, please head over and just kind of see what he's up to, so you have an idea of what we're doing tonight and all that business. Let's see, Tony.
Yes.
Is there anything that you have as far as like announcements go?
Let me think. No, I don't think I have any announcements.
I do.
What?
Well, we got a lovely note from Paul von Eppinger, like germanium.
Germanium.
Yes.
I love germanium.
He says knobs! Exclamation point, which if I just left that there, that could mean different things to different people. So glad I found, can finally support this podcast. It's like germanium.
It's like germanium.
I messed that up. It's like giraffe. So his favorite gear that he's using is the EVH 5150 guitar, or his Fender 66. Mm-hmm. I'm not really familiar with this.
That's
66.
one of those mashup guitars that Fender put out a couple of years ago. It's kind of like a cross between I can't remember. I think if it's a Jazzmaster or Strat. They did that alternate universe series a while back.
Okay, is it like a hardtail, like a never mind.
It might be like a Strat with a Jaguar control plates. It's some very strange thing, but
all right, fair enough. He runs that through an Ampeg GVT 52-112.
Oh yeah, I know that one.
Sounds sexy. I'm
that one, yeah.
I'm sure it sounds great. He's a chorus nut. So he's got 3 choruses on his board. That's well, you're getting into some serious like shoegaze territory with that. Just got an old Blood Noise XS, and it's blowing my mind. We've heard that many times. We actually had the release of that pedal on our show when they came on, way back when. He says, I love the banter in the interviews, and mostly when Todd is right all the time.
Oh, Todd is always right.
Oh, wait. Somebody added that to my notes.
All the time.
I actually won an Instagram giveaway a few years back for a Mythos and Pine Box pedal.
Oh, those are both cool.
Yeah, I think that was the contest. That was the 2019 or 2020. I've been listening since a month before that contest. Honestly, I just wanted to support. I have 2 young kids, and my wife's working schedule is limiting. I haven't played with a band since before COVID, and I don't live in band-friendly area. That's a bummer. Your podcast keeps me motivated to create and keep practicing. Well, that is fantastic to hear, and I'm glad that we can bring a little bit of guitar sunshine to your not guitar environment.
Oh, and Todd, while you were reading that,
Yes.
I did some very fast research.
Yes.
And the Fender 66 is actually a jazz bass body mated with a 6-string neck,
Oh,
and it's kind of got a I don't know what you would call it.
that'd be heavy? That's be heavy, yeah?
Not necessarily. It's bigger than what I would call than a jazz master.
Yeah.
But yeah, that and somebody played something like
Prince
that.
played one.
No. He would have to be a mini jazz bass.
You need a kickstand for that thing.
So, but anyhow, yeah, that's a cool guitar.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Tony.
That's what
Appreciate
that's what I'm here for, Todd.
You're so helpful. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, that's it for the big announcements, that we have at the front of the show. We talk about all kinds of new things as we're about to. And if you're a brand new listener, this is going to be really fun. If you're an old time listener, it's still going to be fun, but you're going to kind of know what we're doing.
Don't change that dial.
I won't. Let's figure out what's going on in our music worlds this week. Tony. Oh, wait.
What?
Wait. Before I say it, before I forget, I don't want to forget. By the time this comes out, I will be pretty much about to be going. It'll be a couple days before NAMM. If you are at NAMM, if you're going to NAMM, please, I would love to meet you. If you're there, reach out, DM me on Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Wherever you're at, and we'll try to meet up and let
Have
me
a
get
burger.
Maybe not a burger,
Have a pizza.
or just say hi.
Or have a
Or
fish.
that. Yes,
Have a fish.
yes, we
I'm
can
never
share a
gonna-
Jolly Rancher stick.
I regret to tell everybody that I will not be there. I'm very sorry. You'll have to settle for Todd.
And I also
true.
will not be there, so you'll have to settle for Todd.
Yes,
But Billy will be there.
Billy's gonna. Yeah, Billy will be with me, and Johnny Morales.
Oh, that's right.
from Oakland Guitar.
That's right.
Oh, Johnny.
So
Yes, it's gonna be fun. And let's find out what's going on in this world, in your music worlds this week. The lovely, the hairy,
the boisterous.
boisterous Tanya Bolonsky is going to lead this off.
Yes.
And then we're going to find out what's going on with Tye.
As per usual. Well, Todd, this week I have been thoroughly happy. In the mail, not too terribly long ago, came my brand spanking new treble booster from R2R Electric.
Super cool.
Ooh.
That's got the 9-volt plug-in.
Yes, this one he added that. I
Yeah.
think yours doesn't have that.
Mine
does it?
has just the
Great
battery.
company.
Yeah, he did send a battery along with it too, in case you want to run it off of a battery. But Chris, I don't know what he does over there. He just works some magic.
He's a genius.
Yeah, I would something like that. So this is based on the classic treble booster circuit. The major difference between this and any other is, well, one, the components that Chris uses, they're all
New old stock.
new old stock, vintage, the transistors and the capacitors
Yeah.
and everything.
It's worth saying that this is the amp top.
That's right. This is the amp top version, which some people shy away from because you can't stomp it on and off. But to me, a pedal like this is meant to be on all the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, you can always turn it off. There's a toggle on there. So what makes this particular amp top pedal is on the back, there is a 6-way input tone circuit. And
They're isolated circuits. That's the other big thing.
So think of it as like a baritone that Gibson put on some guitars, except what this circuit does is it filters out. I think the zero position is standard, whatever the
very first Dallas Arbiter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then as you gradually work your way up, it lets more and more and more of the bass and mid frequencies through it.
Yeah.
And where that really comes in handy is if you're using multiple guitars.
Yep.
And one guitar, say, has single coil pickups like a Strat.
Yes.
And then the other guitar is a Les Paul with humbuckers. If you need more bottom end to come through the thing, you just turn that variable tone switch up, and it's great. It's a great sounding. I'm just thrilled that he was able to put one together for me.
Yeah.
The transistor that he's using, the classic transistor is an OC44, which are almost impossible to get now. But what he used in this one is an OC45, which was the improved version of the OC44.
Right.
More reliable. And so that's kind of, just the componentry alone is...
Well, and he lists the components on the inside, which is a really cool feature because a lot of times you'll get a pedal and you're like, I wonder what is in here, and he lists everything. And this has a lot of components because it's not, most of the standard pedal size treble boosters are, even if they have some kind of variable to them, those things are running in series,
right?
Because you can't have all that stuff inside a pedal. It's just too much stuff. It's too much stuff.
Is it too much?
And that is, I remember when we were talking to him about it, he's like, that's kind of the magic of and that's why it's hard for people to actually capture that
it's a
real
giant tone chamber. That's why larger pedals always sound better. I read that on the internet.
Yes, well, it must be true.
So anyhow, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I sent Chris a message, tell him how much I love it.
You got to figure out a better setup at your place so that you can have some of this stuff like on full time.
Yeah,
that isn't
precariously perched,
precariously teetering on destruction. Yes.
I love chaos.
I know. Yes.
So anyhow, that's my week.
Okay. That's a lovely week. Tyler, how about yourself? Sorry, Tye Tyler. How about yourself?
Yeah. It's one of those weird weeks for me where I'm doing a final setup of a guitar, and it's like, I'm sure you guys understand this, whether you've ever built a guitar or not. I'm sure you've restrung plenty. Like when you're putting the strings on it and you get to actually hear it even unplugged for the first time. So I'm doing a little the tweaks on a build that, and what's cool about that one, and I won't even share it here, it's for someone and they don't even know they're getting it. It's
that's cool.
Which is pretty cool. And I've also been buried in stainless steel frets for the last day and a half. So I've got lots of little cuts and scrapes on my fingers because I always like to do the semi-hemi ends on all of my frets. So it takes, and I try to do it beforehand because doing it afterwards, it's always such a pain in the butt to do it afterwards. You're always scraping the fretboard or whatever. And yeah, so I've been buried with stainless steel frets for the last couple of days, which is
kind of
crappy. But you had mentioned earlier, I will also be going to NAMM this year.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm going as I guess it's more of a recon trip. I'm going to, I've always considered being part of that boutique guitar showcase. And yeah, I figure I'll go and check out and see what some of my buddies are doing before I fully commit to something like that. It's scary. You're a builder. It's something like that scary to throw yourself out there to that big of a public audience, even though I'm on Instagram and there's plenty of people that can find me there. But I think that makes sense if it doesn't.
Well, be sure and hit me up. But also, and I would suggest anybody else
is that for a burger, the pizza, or what was it, a Jolly Rancher? What was it?
Jolly Rancher or fish?
Yeah. Anyways,
salad.
Okay, all right. So, for those that are considering going, will be there, whatever. Please, 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 make sure that you seek out Honey Tea guitars.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Is he going to be there?
He's going to be there.
Cool.
And we've had him on the show before. His work is, I mean, he's kind of like the flipping Michelangelo of guitar making. I mean, his stuff is just incredible. It's all literally hand tooled, everything, and it is absolutely stunning stuff. Please check him out. Say hi. Give him some support. He's coming from Germany.
Previously Australia.
He was there from Australia, and if you recall, I think if nobody heard that episode, go check out Honey Tea Instruments. But this guy, he came from Australia to go to NAMM, and they put him in the tiniest alcove of a window over by the drums, and it was I was walking by and I saw the guitar that I'd shown Jared and Tony so many times,
right.
This blue and gold guitar. And I said, "Oh my gosh, that's the guitar! That's the guitar!" And I ran over there, and I'm sure he was feeling like he was about to be assaulted or something, because I just started blabbering like I'd known him for a long time, just because I sought out his work.
Nice.
Super nice guy, incredibly talented. Please check out Honey Tea.
Yeah, he's actually doing I'm familiar with him. He's actually doing this really cool. I don't know. I guess you'd call it I guess it's a semi-hollow or a hollow body right now, where it's got this.
It's a full hollow, yeah.
Full hollow, where it's got this amazing flame maple natural burst, if you will, almost all going into like a Gothic cross. It's amazing, man. Amazing craftsmanship.
Yeah. And that's all hand done with Japanese cutting tools.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, please do that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see.
How about Jared?
Oh, by the way, his name is Steven. So
Steven.
yeah.
Steven Honey Tea.
Steve. Yes. All right,
Honey
Jared, what's up with you, man?
Oh man. So my buddy Mike, I had a band with a long time ago, started writing music again. He's in a good spot. As far as his life is going, he is going to be a computer security guy. So he's going to, some bank's going to hire him, and he's going to be their computer security. So, and I called him about a year ago. I'm like, hey, write some music. He's I'm going to school right now. I'm going to be his computer security guy. And then, lately he's like,
so wait, are you saying he does computer security?
He might.
Okay.
So not yet, but he's gonna, because he's getting his degree in that. And he was thinking about it, and he started writing music again. And he sent it to me, and I couldn't open it.
Are they songs about being a computer security guy?
Like Wichita Lineman?
I don't want to reveal.
Oh,
it's very important that I keep it a secret.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So you're going to be involved in that again?
So anyway, I'm going to continue with my story. He sent it to me, and I tried to open the file in a iPad, and it won't work. And I'm like, why won't the file work? He's like, oh, I'm writing this stuff. We're using GarageBand. It's very low tech. It's like, I'm using an iMac. So that's what he said. And I'm like, iMac. I'm like, so why won't it? He's like, you cannot, like, there's a different version of GarageBand for iMac, and it will not work. Those files that you write on MacBook and iMac will not work on the iPad or the iPhone.
Right.
And so I bought me a MacBook.
Really?
Yay. So I now have a MacBook, and I'm using it. It's a great, it's used. It's a 2020. I got it for a really good price.
Nice.
And it's a great little device, man. I like it. It's easy to use.
You need to get some computer security on there.
I know a guy. Actually, my brother does that too.
Oh,
So anyway, starting to play music again, and with the new guitars that I've got since the last time we did this, it's really fun to incorporate new guitars and stuff like that. Especially, I think I mentioned my Les Paul Custom Access
yes.
a
We talked about
few
that
weeks
last
ago.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice and light. Stop bar sounds great.
Nice.
So yeah, just kind of playing music again. It feels good, and this time it's just hobby and fun, and it's great, man. It's a really good feeling to make music, even if people in the world hear it. So
Yep. Yep.
so I started to do that, and it's a lot of fun.
Good.
Good to hear.
I'll have to let you try out the Amped One, the Black Star Amped One, which would be absolutely like flipping perfect for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I use my HT60 Black Star that has a
Oh yeah,
simulated
yeah,
out
yeah. You can go straight out from
in
that.
the back. It went straight in, and it sounds fantastic.
Oh, that's perfect. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I've had this thing for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Flex is a great man.
Nice.
Speaking of Black Star, we're gonna have them on the show again.
Oh.
Well, because they've got two new incredible additions to their lineup, and it's definitely worth talking about. So
Yes.
more to come
Holy
on that.
smokes. Speaking about amps,
Yeah.
Z Sounds is buying Marshall. Did you guys know that?
No, I didn't hear that.
Z Sounds is buying
I heard that.
freaking Marshall.
Wow.
So that could go
Weird.
a couple of different ways.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I wonder if they're going to try to do just exclusive.
I bet Marshall. I think that was really smart from Marshall. Honestly,
It's all in the headphones.
Well, it had been in the family for all these years, and finally, I think people either lost interest or moved on.
well, they're not.
Or-
Yeah, I mean, because not everything is getting smaller, but they're not. The need for like a half stack on stage anymore is not the same as it used to be.
I agree.
It's
I
still
had to
out there,
get
but
my-
it's just not the. It's not the number one thing.
Yeah.
So
Well,
So the cabs are really difficult to sell. They're difficult to move around. But like my amps, I still have a couple of vintage Marshall tube amps and a newer tube amp, and I'll keep those because you can run as an
yeah.
attenuator.
Well, I'm just talking about like their new product, which is what they would be making the money off
Yeah.
of. I mean, I got the Origin 50, and I really do like that. But that's one model that you got to have a full line that you're really selling the living crap out of in order to stay alive with that. So it'd be interesting to
True.
see what they do. Do they end up going the way that Black Star has kind of started to go a little bit with smaller units, super highly digitally compatible and everything? Or
I think
or what?
I think they should go back to the original 8x12
Oh
cabinets.
yeah, the 100 waters.
Yes. That would be really.
Yeah.
That'd be a smart move.
Anyways, so yeah, we'll just all see how that develops. I think that actually I saw the press release for that, and I'm sorry, but whoever wrote that did not do Marshall any favors there, because the first thing they said was they sold it to the company that put out like their headphones and their other things.
Oh.
That developed their headphones and the other things, which is what they really took a lashing over.
Yeah.
All those little weird things that they were making that weren't amps.
I'm still a fan of the Marshall mini refrigerator.
Yeah,
That's a cool thing.
it is a cool thing, but it's not an amp. So
No, not really.
if they I just don't think that helped them, in the eyes of us and the people who actually want to champion a brand like that.
True.
So
I don't need a Marshall fridge.
Yes, you do. Everyone needs one.
I would agree with that. Anyhow,
How about you, Todd?
well, I guess the biggest thing was I did make a connection online with a pretty popular demo person for Flint Effects, which if I will go ahead and tell, I've
spill
been
the
leaking
beans.
that out. Flint Effects
Spill
is
the
the
beans.
little side deal that I created. That essentially we have a product out right now that has it's specifically made for the HX Stomp and a couple other units like that, like actually the HX Stomp XL, the Ampero 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hot tone. I did get clarification. I think that thanks to Mark Paget, our hero. The hot tone, Ampero 2, the Eventide H90, and the Valitron GP200. Those are all really popular units right now that are using a similar knob, a similar digital control set of knobs. And these knobs, especially like if you have an HX Stomp, it is actually like touch sensitive. So if you even, it's like, those lamps when you just touch them and they turn on and off. Mm-hmm. Those little knobs have that capability. They're also you can press them down, and they are fully rotational.
So these are like protecting your presets, and so you don't accidentally.
If you step on one
it.
of those, yeah, I mean it's not like you're going to get that repaired. Probably, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't know what the situation is, but it could go very badly. From my perspective, I've got a size 13 shoe, and me running up in the middle of a gig I realized that I was not stepping on that pedal like I stepped on my other pedals.
You were being ginger.
Right, which took me out of the moment.
Yes.
And so I said, wait a minute. Anyways, so we created a product that protects those knobs. And
I believe it's a patented
It is a patent pending, yes.
Oh, it's patent pending.
Patent pending. So nobody else can have that.
A PP.
A PP, yes. Which is also the same as patent applied for, by the way.
Is it?
It is. Yeah.
Huh.
Patent applied for came first, and then they said patent pending.
Okay.
But essentially, it's the same thing.
Okay.
Anyways, so I made a connection with somebody that I had been watching, trying to learn about my own HX Stomp and how best to use it. Mm-hmm. And I liked what he was doing, so I said, "Hey, can I send you some of this stuff?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely. These things look fantastic. Let me check them out." So I sent him out a package. We've got 7 colors. If you go to flinteffects.com, you can see those 7 colors. And if you have one of those units, you can get one.
So
you can also get it right off of Instagram. I got the shop going on Instagram.
Who is this mystery demonstrator?
It's a guy. Until we get it sorted out, I don't want to leak that out. Yeah, so, but I'm going to be looking for some other ones too. So, anyways.
I can demonstrate stomping on top of the plastic pieces.
Yes, and they look cool. And 2 of them are UV, so they glow. Yes, the orange and the green, the glow
in the
on
dark.
stage. Yeah,
that's kind of
really cool.
I like that idea.
Anyways, they're $10. You're going to save your $600 plus pedal for $10. Why wouldn't you do that?
Cheap insurance.
Cheap insurance. That's exactly right, and it looks cool. All right, and they're indestructible. Did I mean virtually indestructible?
Oh, don't claim that.
We got a patented tension cage that holds it on. So if you put it on your board, it's not going to go falling off or flying.
That's smart.
It doesn't need any crazy sticky glue or tape or anything. You just put it on. All right, there's my commercial.
Nice.
But I was excited because I was like, yeah, all right, finally we're going to get this out and get somebody who's got a bigger voice in particularly for this type of thing on YouTube out there. So, anyways, more to come on that.
Hey, Ty.
Hey.
I'm sure as a guitar builder, you from time to time need to plug those guitars in and try them out. Maybe even through like a pedal board or something, right?
I mean, it's part of the process, sure.
Yeah. So what if I told you that you could get some incredible patch cables for very little money, and they'll take up very little space?
Well, you've got me intrigued. I'll say it that way.
Okay. I want you to go over to Tour Gear Designs and check out their line of flat patch cables. And the plugs at the ends are literally...
They're not flat. They're round. Well, the plug part.
The plug part is, but it's literally the size of a typical output jack. Or a quarter-inch jack.
And the diameter.
The diameter of it. So these are teeny tiny. The cable itself is flat. It comes in a couple different directions. There's an S and a C. Is
Yeah.
that right? S
Yeah.
and a C shape. So that if you need to go from a side mount to a top mount or between two side mounts or what have
And
you.
all the different lengths. That's the big one
The
for me.
lengths are incredible because you can get whatever you need.
That's right.
But
I'm looking up right now. I even see there's a 3-inch, which is perfect.
Yep.
yeah, they go up to what 24 inches or something like that.
I think 24.
And that's the one when you need to go from one side of your pedal board to the other, underneath, what have you.
Yeah. If you got a 2-row pedal board, you got to make a Z, I imagine.
Yeah. So I want you to do one more thing after you load up your cart with all these cables that you're going to buy.
Yep.
There's a place for a coupon code, and if you type in the guitar knobs, all one word, all lowercase, you'll save an additional 10%.
I'm all over this thing.
It's really a great way to go. These cables are, I think, reasonably priced to begin with. They ship fast. They come from out of Canada. But when I ordered mine, I had them in my hands probably about 3 or 4 days after I ordered them. So don't let that be a deterrent. And right now, the American dollar is strong against the Canadian dollar. So
Well, I'm
even
getting ready.
better.
I'm getting ready to rebuild a pedal board anyways. I'm trying to make something pretty cool. So this might be the perfect time for me.
That sounds great. I think go over to Tour Gear Designs, enter your coupon code. You're going to save some money. You're going to be happy you did.
Perfect. Thank you to Tour Year Designs for sponsoring our 4 on the Floor. Jared?
Let me get a little bit of this. 1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
All right. Tye Tyler of Shock the Fox. I almost said Fox the Shock, but that would have come out very different, and then it would have sounded wouldn't have been PG anymore. Anyways, tell us your 4 on the floor.
Yeah, so it's funny when I was thinking about this and having listened to you guys before, I didn't know how to narrow it down to 4. Is that a typical problem?
It can be.
So I actually just yesterday, I saw this really cool Rick Rubin interview where he was talking about how he came up with the songs on an album, and what he said is he goes, I always have the band pick out the 4 or 5 that are their best, and then out of the other 20 songs we have, we only add in the ones that make those that are their favorites that much better. So I kind of use that same model, but with a little different approach. So I picked out my 2 favorites out of the gate, and then I said, all right, what are the other ones that make it better? Actually, you've had these guys on before. The Copper Sound pedals, the Captain Hook.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Octave Fuzz Boost. I think there was like a limited run at one point from Chicago Music Exchange where they got so many of them, and I think that's where I got it. And Nathaniel Murphy, who I think he goes by Zeppelin Beretta, he's a guitar player out of Chicago Music Exchange.
Arguably the greatest guitar player on the planet right now.
Yeah, more than likely. He did an amazing review of some of their pedals, and I ended up buying because I'm just a sap. You immediately think that, oh my goodness, I need all of those that he's reviewing from Copper Sound right now. But the Octave Fuzz Boost, like the little combo pedal, I friggin' love it. It's just you can have. They're not even sounds that I normally play, and I think that's what I did with a lot of my pedals that I picked for today, except for one. But yeah, it's just the tone you can get out of that, and honestly, no matter what guitar you plug into it's just amazing. I love it. I love the octave sounds, the fuzz sounds going with it. It's ridiculous, and there's just so much versatility in it. Probably the best way I can describe it. The next one.
Yes.
The MXR M305 Tremolo, and it's just one of those weird. Like I was trying to decide. All right, I needed a tremolo in my board at some point, and when I got it, I'm like, I'm never going to use this thing. I swear, I think I do more creative stuff with the tremolo, just goofing around, than any of my other pedals that I have, to be honest, which is weird. And I don't even know how I decided on that one, to be perfectly honest. I was just digging around. I'm like, oh, this one looks cool. I think I was like on Sweetwater or something like that. I'm like, oh, I think there's a cool demo for this one. I'm like, yep, perfect. I'll take that one with me. The number 3, the Wampler Plexi Drive Mini. And And I'm a sucker for that AC30 sound. And someday I'll have my own vintage AC30. Someday, I don't know when. Maybe I'll even try to make a version of one at some point. But yeah, that little pedal, and it was like one of those things where you can get the older one. I forget what the older one is, where it's like the full size model of that. That little thing it's great. It's a fun pedal. And lastly, this was probably the first one I selected out of the four, and it's just because it's been with me the longest. So take it back to the college days. It was the early 90s, and I needed some type of crazy distortion, of course, like we all did. And it's my DoD 55C Super Distortion.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
So I can use that thing, and I can quickly get to the sounds that I liked at that time. The social distortion. I immediately you can mess with the dials enough to get close to that kind of sound. I don't know. It's just been with me the longest. I even think the old 9-volt was, corroded inside of it at one point, but I was able to rescue it after digging it out and playing it with it long enough. But yeah, those are my four.
Awesome.
I think
that's a good little setup.
Yeah, that's a nice set.
Dig it, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. And if you are interested in any of those pedals, I'm sure the builders would appreciate you taking the next step.
Cha-ching.
Yes, indeed. So let's see. Shock the Fox. That is your guitar building company. And that's what we're going to be talking to you about. I think the biggest question on the table is what's up with the name?
Yeah, I've made up this, like, so many stories to this. And it's so funny. Sometimes I hear some of the made up stories back to me, which makes it that much more fun. It's like Whisper Down the Lane kind of deal where like your stories eventually come back to you and it's completely like another made up version of that. But the truth is, when I finally made the decision to stop going to the corporate world job every day, and that was, I think it's almost 5 years ago now, it was one of those days where I was sitting in my office and I had a couple of my buddies in there with me. They all knew that I was soon to be walking away and doing this kind of stuff for the rest of my life and spending more time with the kids. And by the way, I did it at a young age. It's not like I'm 72 over here, for crying out loud. When I'm sitting around with them, and of course I said, I'm going to need a name of the company. And I thought of a crazy old exercise where I was like, all right, let's just come up with a stupid name. And I remember this from some marketing course I think I took at some point in my life. And I said to my one buddy, I go, I'm going to need you to give me a verb. And I went to my next buddy and I said, I'm going to need you to give me an article. And of course, that buddy said, what's an article? I said, well, that's an or the. And I said, I'm going to think of a noun. And I go, just write it down on a little piece of paper and then we're going to read them off. And then we're going to wait until we come up with something that's kind of cool. First time I point to my first buddy, he says shock. My next buddy says the, because I think that's the only article he can remember. And then got to me, I said Fox, and that was it. That was the name of the company.
Well, there you go.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
that's not so crazy. That's not so crazy. I mean, it's well known that there are many actual artists out there, such as like Robert Smith from The Cure, who literally has a fishbowl full of phrases that he'll just draw from. Honestly, like half of his songs are written like that.
Yeah, so
Crazy.
It's not that deep. It's not like some of the. I'll tell you one of the one of the funny stories I had. At one point, even, and this was when I first walked away. I was not only doing the guitar stuff, but I was doing because I've always done woodworking as a hobby. Like that was always my thing, my way to find peace, if you will, away from the corporate world and from the family. And that's just saying that lovingly, I guess. I did some custom cabinetry and stuff for people and custom furniture. And one person asked me, where's the Shock the Fox come from? And I think the fabrication I made up at that point was, you know what, at the end of this, I just want you to be so happy. I go, you know how difficult it is to surprise and shock a fox? It's impossible. And my goal is for you to get so much more value out of this than you ever expected. You're going to be shocked when we're done. And so I realized then, like, yeah, I'm done telling that story. I'm just going to give the long one from now on. So, yeah, Shock the Fox.
Well, all right, that's it, everybody.
All right, thanks, everybody.
It's been a great show.
Yeah, I mean, I was even thinking, I'm like, man, do I tell like the journey of even like getting to this point where I am today?
Yeah.
It's weird. How do I say this? All right, it's weird being a recognized brand. Does that sound fun? Like, I'm a dude that grew up with friggin' hay in my hair, for crying out loud. Like, I'm a guy that goes to his garage and builds guitars, honestly, at the beginning for fun. And it's just odd and strange that now all of a sudden you're a recognized brand, and I had to start. Shit.
A squirrel.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the recognized brand thing. It really puts me back, to be honest. Like, I don't sell or try to sell a lot of merch, if you will, air quotes. I don't sell hats. I don't sell T-shirts. Normally, I'll give one to a buddy here, or if someone says, "Hey, I'd love to get one. Where can I get one?" If I have one, I'll just send it to them, because that's not really. I know too many people that spend 90% of their time doling out their merch, and I don't have time for that. I mean, I'm a husband and a dad first, and guitar builder takes up all the rest of the time, So, yeah, I think what got me into it was always being a guitar builder or guitar player, I guess, and being a woodworker as my respite. I was like, what's the most difficult thing that I can do to test my own skills? I was like, man, I'd love to build a guitar. I don't know if I can. So at the beginning, I was just building bodies. I was just building like telly bodies, because I've always dug the telly shape. It's a classic shape. I dig it more than the
That's
Strat
where
shape.
basically everybody starts, right? I mean,
yeah, it's such a simple thing. And honestly, I built those to the point where I was even, this is kind of funny, I was finding different makers of different, I don't know, specifics. Like, I found a guy that did nothing but knives. I made a really cool telly body out of, wood and stuff that I sourced locally. And I sent him a telly body, and I said, hey, if you ever want to finish it, all you got to do is buy a neck and slap it on there, and you got yourself a guitar, buy all the parts, etc. And I was doing this kind of like challenging other people, and I was just giving them away, like challenging other people to make something, I guess, like to get the bug like I had. And it finally got to the point where Daryl Braun reached out to me. He had seen a bunch of my posts, and you guys have probably seen his YouTube videos.
Is that
something.
Lloyd Braun's brother?
I don't know who Lloyd Braun is, but it might be. Daryl Braun Guitar. He's got almost like 1 million followers on YouTube, for crying out loud, I think. He's out of Canada. Good dude. He reached out to me, and he was looking for a specific telly body. He was going to do a parts caster. And I made one for him. And once he posted that video, it had 100,000 views in a matter of minutes, for crying out loud. I was busy. From that day forward, I've been busy, a busy builder, if you will.
That's fantastic.
I've never had to like say, geez, I hope I can get some orders. Not to be weird, but then again, like, my business model is different than most. Like, I don't have a CNC. And I have nothing against, like, some of my favorite guitars, like Frank Brothers guitars, are some of the coolest guitars out there, and they do just about everything on CNC.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's like the time that I have to spend doing that stuff is what's really, really cool. Like, that just time, that visceral connection I get with some of these things, these guitars. I mean, hell, anyone that has one of my guitars, I always tell them, like, one of the last things I say is, just so you know, if you play this guitar every single day, you'll never spend as much time with this guitar as I have. Like, I've touched every square millimeter of that thing 1,000 times more than you ever will, which is kind of cool. So, yeah. I don't know. I finally got to a point where I said, I'm not doing bodies anymore, because I think you guys could probably imagine this. You've probably put guitars together and thrown necks on guitars before.
Yeah.
If it doesn't always fit perfect, and I think of this whenever I build a guitar now. What can I do to ensure that this guitar never has to come back to me and I have to do a repair on it? Because doing that and making sure someone's specific neck fixed the fit a body that I did or vice versa, I was like, from that point forward, I'm only doing full builds. And when I open up my books each year, my books are normally full, and I only take on maybe 7 to 10 guitars a year. Once I open up my books, they're typically full in a couple hours, which is kind of cool. And it makes for planning out the calendar year and what you're going to be doing much easier, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I love it. Like I can honestly say, even though I mentioned stainless steel fret days are kind of bad, I never have bad days in the workshop ever, which is awesome.
Nice.
That's a good way to live, man. Few
Yeah.
people have that opportunity.
Yeah, and like I never would have guessed, and I don't know if I keep saying brand and I keep doing air quotes, even though you guys can't see me doing it, I'm doing air quotes every stinking time, which is funny. Like the whole Shock the Fox thing, it's like me speaking about myself in the third person, which is weird. It is, I didn't expect it to be this big. I didn't. And I mean, even like companies will reach out to me now just based on, like the online presence and the social media influencing ability. I've got lots of different people reaching out to me now, and it's kind of weird and humbling and awkward, I guess I would say. But it's also cool. It's given me lots of opportunities. Like StuMac, I'm sure you guys are familiar with StuMac. Like I work with them a lot now, and like they wanted me to be one of their 12 days of giveaways over the Christmas holiday, which was cool. So I got to go pick out a handful of tools that I liked, and I got to give them away. And of course, me being the dumb guy with the hay in my hair, for crying out loud, I said, so do you want me to send these things to them when they win? They're like, no, you keep those. We'll send them the tools. I'm like, wait, what? Okay, sure. That sounds awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool stuff like that. But I've gotten to meet a lot of cool companies through this thing growing. And someone asked me recently, they'd said, how did you grow it like that? And
you got near 50,000 Instagram followers.
Yeah, like and someone said, like, how did you do it? And so the easy answer is I listened to my 14-year-old. What I asked him, what should I do if I want this thing to be bigger? What should we do? And his answer was simple. He said, just post something every day. What? Okay, sure, bud. You know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
But I started doing that. And then I was like, all right, if I am going to post something, what am I going to post? And I have a really simple model. I like to post what I'm doing. I like to post the things that I think are cool. And I like to only use really cool woods in all of my builds. So it's typically something I think is cool, something that that I'm doing, and it's something that's cool wood, and that's it. Like it's simple, man. But from there, it just took off. I wish I could say I understand the almighty algorithm. I don't, but everything I post gets a ton of views. Like when you see something you post, it's got 1 million views. Like what? That's ridiculous. So I don't know. People like figured woods. People like guitars, and that's kind of cool. I'm right in that sweet spot.
Yeah. So what type of or style, I guess you should say, of guitar is your favorite to build?
Double cuts is probably my favorite. And the reason is because I think, I don't know. I've just heard, I try not to be influenced by, how do I say this? What the guitar world says about things. Like I don't. Like I look at how like Gibson did their their double cuts, and you can look at the plans. Anyone can look up the plans, and you say like, wow, they're Les Paul Juniors, or their headstocks are always cracking off, or the necks need to be reset. I'm like, all right, well, how can I re-engineer that so that it doesn't have to happen? You know what I mean? So
right.
Like for me, like that was the fun part of the process, is saying like, all right, how do I make my own version of a Les Paul Junior or a double cut? But how can I change it so that you have access to the 24th fret easily, and so that there's really nothing holding you back to get there, and still be able to see a lot of the cool figured woods on the guitar. I don't know. Just the double cut to me is just one of the coolest, sexiest looking guitars out there, man. I love them.
Yeah,
It is.
I would agree with that.
Thank you, Gibson.
I love it. Like even it's funny, like, you know, if you've ever seen like how they put those tenons or set the necks in a Gibson, like even like the fenders, like a lot of things were done because it was, what's the best way to say it? It was the easiest way to do it in the least amount of steps. I hate to simplify it that way, but really Leo Fender was the one that made them so simple in the least amount of steps using the least amount of lumber. He kind of mastered that, right? But
Sure.
but Gibson came around, and you've got your necks that are kicked back at 3 to 4.5 degrees, depending on which one you're measuring. You got your headstocks that are 15 to 18 degrees, and that thing's all set in a tenon that doesn't go past the neck pickup.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like, it's just and they even narrowed it. Like it's a tiny little tenon. If I'm sure you've all seen them.
Yep.
And you say to yourself, no wonder that thing's snapping out of there, or the headstock's snapping out. So, like now I run my tenons all the way back to the bridge. And
What?
you could almost say that it's a neck through.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, if it makes it all the way to the bridge, you're in neck through territory.
Yeah, and
They had long tenons before they went to the shorter tenon in the early 60s.
oh really? See, I didn't even know that.
But not as long as what he's describing, Jared.
Oh, yeah, to the bridge pickup, that's super long.
I didn't realize that you use that long of a tenon. That's very unusual.
Yeah, and for me, like what makes it, I think, difficult, I think for most like people that are cranking out tons of instruments is, you know, as opposed to I'm doing air quotes again, the boutique builder. Mm-hmm. What makes it different is that means you can't put the top on until after the neck has been placed in the body. And then you have to fit the neck, you know, the top of the body around the neck that's already been placed in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really adding a bunch of extra steps that aren't typical. And it just, for me, like, so one way I'm really happy when I finally pick up an instrument. I'll explain it this way. When I finally pick up an instrument, when everything's all said and done, and if I can just lightly pluck the strings down by the bridge, if I can feel them in my hand down by the nut, I know I did it right. Mm. Like, does that make, like, and when I say feel it on my hand, I'm not saying the strings, but like the back of the neck. If I can feel that little light playing right there, like I know I did something right in building this thing. So that's always been my approach. Like, how do I take these things? Like, even, you know, a lot of people use carbon fiber rods. Like, with the way truss rods are done today, you probably don't need them, but I put them in. Like, I put them in, I run the carbon fiber through the end of the neck onto the neck break angle. And I do that because I don't want anything to break. I don't want you, Todd, if you had one of my guitars, I don't want you to say, hey, Tye, I'm going to have to send this thing back to you. Everything's broken. That's not the day for me. Because as I said, like, I've got my year planned out.
Yeah.
That means someone else is going to be waiting a little while longer while I get that thing back in order, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how about in terms of pickups? What do you like to use?
All right. So, a good friend of mine, Josh Pitaro, he's from Righteous Sound Pickups, and we have a very similar business model in that it's just one dude, you know, in his garage building pickups. And I got to know him through someone else. It's like, I think you guys all understand. It's like in this business, you eventually meet everyone. And he just was real. I don't even know his history. Like, I don't know if he might have worked for Lawler at one point. I'm not even 100% sure. All I know is the dude is a mad scientist. If I tell him what the guitar is made out of, if I tell him what I'm trying to get out of the guitar or what the buyer wants out of the guitar, he'll figure it out. Like, even if, the person says, I want a P90, but, I want it in a P90, but I want it to be this, he'll do it. And he's done just amazing things for me. And like, the cool thing for a guy like me is that, and he doesn't do this for everyone, I'm sure he probably would because he's too nice of a stinking guy, is that as I'm building a guitar, if I want to match the wood of the top of the guitar and have him do an insert in the pickup to match it, he will. And that's ridiculous. I mean, that's just really, really cool. So having that approach, like I did a guitar for, I don't know if you guys have ever heard, like Ben Crow at Crimson Guitars in the UK, he does this great guitar build off every year. And he had this contest last year where he actually allowed in pro builders. I was like, all right, what's the definition of a pro builder? I guess it's if you have a website, if you sell guitars, you're a pro builder. So I went into this category and I won it. And one of the big feedback is I had this really cool piece of, it was a semi-hollow body of curly Shadua, is this wood where the light grain ran all the way up the middle of the guitar and even crossed over the pickups. And then I picked it back up again up north of the fretboard and then onto the headstock. And it was just like one of those cool features you just don't see in the off-the-shelf guitar, if that makes sense. But Josh was the guy from Righteous Sound. He was a dude that helped me get to that point. You know what I mean? Like, I just had a crazy idea. It's like, yeah, dude, we can do that. So yeah, it's cool to know people like that can you can come up with crazy ideas and they're not scared to tackle it, which I'm faced with probably 9 out of 10 times where you're in this boutique guitar world, if you will. People are looking for a guitar that they've always dreamt of, Yeah. Does that make sense?
Of
No,
course.
that makes total sense. And I think that's a really cool niche that you've put yourself into. I mean, building one-off guitars.
Yeah.
It's certain. I'm guessing it's not the most lucrative way to make a bunch of guitars, but it's definitely a passion project for you.
No, it's not the most lucrative. Just ask my wife, crying out loud. She's working her tail off to support this crazy habit of mine.
By the way, Curly Shadua was actually a star second baseman in 1922 in the Texas Sandys baseball team.
Of course he was. I mean, come on. That's great.
Anyway, sorry.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah. So, I mean, you asked me, like, what do I like to build the most? Like, I'll build most of what people want, but I'll be honest, like, I typically like to build my designs.
Yeah.
Like, I have a double cut and a single cut, and then I have an offset double cut and single cut. And I like to stay in that space. And for me, it's building the same 4 type of guitars isn't boring because I'm always trying to use different stuff. Yeah. I'm always trying to change the look, if you will. And it's kind of dramatic how much I try to change things. I've got this crazy guitar, and if you go to my Instagram, you'll see it. Like, I think one of my most recent posts was me working on this thing where I was marrying the neck to the body, but it looks like an X. That's how I would loosely describe it. And I literally thought of that guitar one night. It's like one of those deals where I was like, I wonder if I could do that. And I just started like a little sketch on a napkin, for crying out loud, and on a piece of paper towel probably. And I was like, let me draw it out. And I always draw all my guitars out full scale. Like I get, my kids always have some type of a poster board need. So instead of running to Target at 10 p.m. the night before something's due, I always have a nice supply of poster boards around. So I always draw out a full scale version of these things. And I drew it out. I'm like, I think I could make this work. And what I was thinking the whole time when I was doing it is I've never seen, or maybe I've seen it and forgot it. I don't know, but I have another buddy, and I think I mentioned this before, that he makes knives and he makes a lot of Damascus stuff. I'm like, that would be really cool if I could do a leg rest that this guy forges out of like a really cool Damascus and makes a cool Damascus pick guard for this thing. I've never seen anything like that. So what's cool about being a guitar builder is like you can draw something on a napkin. Next thing you know, you're knee deep in making the darn thing, which is fun, man. Like that's the cool thing about it. Like I try to pick something like that every year for myself just to see if I can do it, kind of weird thing. And yeah, that's this year's crazy experiment. And we're getting close.
Well, that was going to be one of my next questions is, do you ever keep any of them for yourself?
Yeah, I have. I've got a handful. Like the first time I did my double cut version, it was and it's way back in my Instagram now. It's probably one of my most popular guitars. You had mentioned that fella earlier with the hollow body. I think his name was Steven.
Yes,
if I'm not
from Honey Tea.
Yes. So I did something like that with Flame Maple probably, I don't know, like 3 years ago or whatever. And I did it because it was another one of those things. I'm like, man, you could really make the flames into maple, do something really cool. And then if you added a burst on top of it, I was like, I could really make that look like a sun and I always call it like a sunburst, but I could actually make it look like a sun. And so of course I have like this yellow literal sunburst double cut.
That thing is incredible.
Yeah, I've seen photos of that. That is pretty spectacular.
It's ridiculous.
It almost looks like a spider web.
Yeah, it does. And I always wanted, I love single pickup guitars because I just think it's cool. I just think they always look cool when you see someone with a single pickup guitar. But I always wanted a single P90 and a double cut like an old Junior, and I made it. And I made it look as friggin' cool as I possibly could.
Right.
So yeah, so that's one of the ones that I have kept, and I've got like my first full telly that I made. And then I've got the time when I said, wow, I finally made a full telly that's actually good. So I've got a couple of those also. I mean, the first one probably weighs as much as a Les Paul, for crying out loud, but it's awesome. I love it, and I'll never do anything with it. You know what I mean? It's even got a kill switch because I was throwing everything in that first build that I thought I needed, and I didn't need any of it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jared, I think you were raising your hand online.
I do. I want to know like who your early guitar influences are. Like who were they that really got you into guitar?
Got me into guitar. Oh man. I don't know if it's early. I mean, I immediately think of college when I think of, that's when you're mostly influenced.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. First people that come to mind is who? Yeah.
So when I first saw Dinosaur Jr. in concert, and I still have the damage in my ears, I think, from that moment, with Jay Mascis playing and Lou Barlow just being nuts and Murph on the drums, seeing that band, but just being completely enthralled with Jay Mascis and what he could do and barely move around the stage, I was hooked. Kim Thale from Soundgarden, there was just something about his crazy tunings and stuff that he did, and seeing him in concert was awesome. But what got me to I'll tell you how I got my first guitar. I played drums up to that point, and I had this, Slingerland 5-piece set in my dorm room that my neighbors hated, and long story short, I finally said, screw it. I took it to a pawn shop in Philadelphia. I think it was 9th Street Music at the time, and traded in my drums, and I got an 86 Les Paul Custom that was like that cranberry red. And what I thought was really cool about it, because I hadn't seen it, it might even have been an aftermod. I'm not sure. It had a fine-tuned back bridge on it. And I don't know if I've ever been happier in my life than when I came home with that stinking guitar, which I wish I don't know. Can we all say that there's a certain guitar?
Oh, yeah.
still had.
Yeah.
God, if I could find that thing, I don't care what would be wrong with it. I'd want it back.
That's
But yeah.
that. Before you go any further, just so that one is yours. Tony, what's yours?
I would say it was my first real guitar, which was a '66 Jaguar.
Ugh.
That one we
I
heard
want
from
it
the
back,
belly
too.
right there.
It was a pawn shop find in Youngstown, Ohio
Yeah.
for $175.
You don't feel so bad now, do you, Ty?
Me.
Yeah, Jared.
A Harmony, but that was a half pint guitar, a Sears Roebuck piece of junk, and then I bought my first real Gibson SG. It was a 1974 SG Standard for $500,
Ugh.
1996, and it was in almost mint condition.
Ugh.
Wow.
Yep,
I want all of those guitars. I want them.
Right.
I want that back too, but the headstock got crushed by a stage light.
Ugh.
I wasn't smart enough to keep it in the case before I went on stage when I was younger. So I paid the price.
Todd?
It would be. I had an '84 Les Paul Studio that
Yes.
I really.
Did that have the binding on the neck?
No, it didn't have binding anywhere.
Okay,
and it
'Cause
was
some of the
it was
there
like
are
wine
some out there.
stain, and
Right.
it was just like a work. It was working. It was a working guitar, and it wasn't ridiculously heavy, also, which was kind of nice. But I have a friend who had literally the consecutive. He had the next guitar after mine.
Oh, that's cool.
Mine ended in 8.5, or no, I can't. We determined, I can't remember exactly what it was, but we determined it was like they were right next to each
number.
other, which the odds of that are astronomical.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Anyways, so yes, please continue.
Yeah. So getting that guitar, of course, you have those heroes that you asked about, like those people that influenced you, but that was the same era of seeing Nirvana on every channel that you could actually watch, when the few channels that you got in college, and watching Kurt Cobain play is how I learned, because like I'm not like I can hear something and figure it out, but like watching him play, being a lefty, him being a lefty, me being a righty, I'm a visual learner. So all I had to do was mirror everything he was doing, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we
like-
talked about that on our last episode, that as left-handed, learning from someone who plays left-handed, it is like looking in a mirror.
And
Yeah,
the great Kurt Cobain.
And
Yeah,
and
like-
Dave Grohl.
And Dave Grohl, yes.
like I could watch that, and I'm like, I didn't know what the notes were called. I didn't know any of that stuff, but I knew enough to make noise, man. And I was hooked at that point. That was it.
Can you still play the "Smells Like Teen Spirit" opener?
Yeah, I think that's one of the few songs all my kids can insist on playing also. So
Now, the guitars that you do make, when you get your 7 filled out, are you accounting for like full on customs, or are you sticking to your just kind of like the models that you have developed that you are sort of known for?
yeah, so I like it's interesting when someone wants a guitar. They typically have a pretty good idea what they want. Now, I do have my 4 models. If I am talking to someone and they're describing a PRS, and they basically want me to build them a PRS, I typically suggest to them, you need to buy a PRS.
Right.
and because I'm not building duplicates. Like I can't, I don't want to do that. If I'm going to do something like that, it's going to be my own version of it. So
Right.
typically people will pick one of the models that I have. And I say typically, normally at least one person a year, a repeat customer says, hey, man, I'd really like this. And it's tough for me to say no. I'll find a way to do it. In fact, I'm hoping someone picks like a Jaguar or a Mustang or something pretty soon because I'd love to try to make one. But that being said, they typically stick to that. And the way it works for me is like when I take a deposit, if you will, that accounts for what you want. Meaning I want the craziest master grade quilted top you can find. Done. Like that's part of the cost. Like
Right.
that's included. I want. Obviously, I can't get Brazilian rosewood, but I might. Let me see what I can do. I want pale moon ebony. All right. I think I can find that. I got a guy. I'll find those things, and then we go from there. And whatever it costs is in addition to that is just them picking out what hardware they want, man. So I don't. If they want, I think I saw one of your things recently where you were comparing the Duesenberg trim, the less trim to something else. Like if they want a Duesenberg trim, I'll get one. If they want, there's a great parts builder. His name is Harris. I can't pronounce his last name. He's out of Greece. It's Halon Guitar Parts, I believe, or Halon Instruments out of Greece. He makes like the coolest stuff, and it's so funny. Like when you talk to these, like these small builders like me that are in these different areas. I told him, I said, I want a cool old telly, a telly ashtray, but I don't want it to be relic to the point that it's been under the sea, and I don't want it to look like you just smeared some type of chemical on it. Like it's got to be somewhere in the middle. And the dude gave me exactly what I was looking for. You know what I mean? So it's doing cool stuff like that. I'll include that. Like that's all in addition to the deposit that people make. And then those people all get paid immediately, and then I go, man. And then typically the only thing that takes any time is people determining what color they want. Does that sound weird? Because if I'm using all these crazy figured woods, whether it be flame maple or quilted maple or something else, typically they say, I want it to look like this. And what they're showing me might be a different kind of wood, and getting that color is going to be darn difficult. But that's normally the biggest back and forth is when it comes to coloring type of options. So yeah, it's pretty painless. And I always include a mono case because once again, it ensures that it's going to get there in one piece. And then they never have to get rid of it. I always tell everyone I sell a guitar to, too, if you ever want to sell it, reach out to me first. I'll pay you what you paid.
Yeah.
Not bad.
What type of finishes are you using?
So I'm weird with this one, man. And there's so many. I think you guys understand. In the guitar world, there's so many things that this is the way that it has to be. I don't know why. This is the way. So I'm pretty simple as far as that is concerned. And what I mean by simple is I try to follow are you familiar with Ken Parker? Ken Parker, he does the archtop guitars now. He did like the Parker Flies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He developed those. So he does nothing but like these really cool archtops now. And I looked up to see how he was doing, his finishing process. And I mirrored the same thing. Like he does a grain fill with a 2-part epoxy, and most of that gets just sanded back, where the only thing that is left is the epoxy in the pores. And I use an oil finish, man. That's it. It's an oil finish on all my guitars because I can sand or polish typically to 10,000 or 20,000, which is, like basically rubbing paper on the wood at that point, which leaves it really satiny to begin with. You add oil and it gets kind of semi-gloss, and I'm good. I like a natural finish. Even when people say, I want a nice light nitro, no, I'm not your guy. You might need someone else.
What type of oil finishes are you using?
Yeah, so I've done several different things. I've even made my own. The one that I like the most right now, because I liked it better than the one that I made, is this is going to sound funny. It's by Walrus Oil is the name of the company, and it's called Furniture Butter. And it's a mixture of several different oils, and it's all natural stuff, meaning you could probably eat it. I wouldn't, but over time, it hardens up.
Well, it is called butter, so I bet you could put it on toast.
You could put it on. I mean, what can't you put on toast, for crying out loud? So yeah, it's just leaves me the perfect finish for me. Like when I'm done, like I feel great about it. Like maybe that's why I'm the weird builder and why I'm not the best builder for everyone. And I'm saying that with all honesty because I won't do a nitro guitar. I won't.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be finished the way that I think is the coolest. And if I don't think it's cool, I'm probably not going to do it. And it's probably not going to work out. It's not you, it's me kind of deal. That's how we break up.
And do you find that it's more difficult to do things like sunbursts with that type of finish, or are you getting used to rubbing it on?
Not at all. Because I use another funny thing. I think a lot of builders use this. I don't know what the other companies use, but I use Angelus leather dye as my catalyst for doing the different dyes. It's a spirit-based dye. Mm-hmm. So I can dilute it with denatured alcohol or something. And once it penetrates into the wood, and you can get the finish, pretty even. It's pretty dummy proof, to be perfectly honest with you. If I do anything, I'll do a couple of late mist coats of a sanding sealer just to lock the color in before I do a grain fill, and it never comes up. Mm-hmm. I've never had it come up through the oil or through the finish or anything. So once it's locked in, it's locked in. It's great. So
nice.
Yeah. Angelus leather dye. I think they use a lot of that stuff all the kids are dyeing their sneakers these days. I use it for guitars.
There you go.
Perfect. Well, Tye, this is it's always fun to listen to how somebody does things, learn how one goes about their craft, what inspires them. It's been fascinating learning about the things that you do, what inspires you, how you go about said things, making cool things, and all the other things.
Lots of things.
The floor is yours. Any final thoughts for you?
Yeah, it would be wrong of me not to mention some of the other knuckleheads that do what I do, that I don't take a lot of influence from a lot of other guitar builders, but there's a handful that I just think make really, really cool stuff. There's this guy out of California. Actually, he's outside of Seattle. Brian Farnsworth of Farnsworth Guitars. It's another dude in his shop that's just putting out really, really cool guitars, and every one he makes, I swear he gets better. He's doing amazing things. There's this dude out of Canada, Les Godfrey Guitars, and this guy he's a genius, man. He's studied with some of the amazing people to build guitars and has traveled all over the world. He even does hollow necks, which I wouldn't even know. I don't even know how to explain that, and I don't care to. But this dude is doing amazing things, and I guess I'd probably say Tom Sands. He's an acoustic builder. He's pretty well known. He's studied that with Irvin Samaji. I don't even know how to pronounce that guy's name, out of California, but Tom Sands does amazing guitars, and they're all acoustic, and his design and style is just ridiculous, man. And I think what I appreciate about each of those guys is they actually share with the world what they're doing. And I don't think a lot of guitar builders like to do that for some weird reason. I don't know why that is. It's there's a secret sauce that we're supposed to keep secret, and these dudes put it out there, man. And I appreciate that, because the more people that are doing this, it's just so much fun. I want everyone to build stinking guitars, man. I want you goofballs to come over to my house. Let's build something.
All right, let's do it.
Honestly, if you guys showed up in Chicago this weekend, I'll figure it out. We'll make something before you leave.
We'll earmark that challenge.
Yeah, honest to God, you can go through the famous wood library that every builder has, right? And you can say, "Oh, wait, what is this?" And I won't know, but we'll figure it out and we'll make something out of it.
Love it.
That's right.
Tony?
Yes, Todd.
I think it's about time. You got the keys?
I always have the keys.
All right, let's hop in the old El Camino and head down to Jared's place. He's got somewhere to take us.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for arriving in the awesome old El Camino that goes bum, 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 bum. It's time to play the game. Would you rather? Today's Would You Rather is from Great Lakes Guitar Pickups, a new Poobah member we have.
That's correct.
Great to have you on.
Should we clean that?
So, would you rather? So you're walking down the street and you're offered tickets to see the last concert Kiss will play on their tour in December at Madison Square Garden, of course.
The Kiss. The
real
Kiss.
the real
Yes.
deal.
Well, which
Not
guitar
only
player?
that, but you happen to have a VIP package passes to meet the band. So you're going to meet the real deal band.
Nice.
It also just happens that you found someone who, 2 early Kiss guitars. Let me reread that. It just so happens that you found and somehow own 2 early Kiss guitars made by luthier Charles Lobu.
Le Bleu. Le Bleu.
These guitars have been missing in action for decades. A Gene Simmons Le Bleu case bass looks like a double cut Melody Maker bass.
Oh, yeah.
He lovingly played from the beginning through the Destroyer era. And Paul Stanley, his black offset Le Bleu Flying V with the upper part shorter than the lower. Black with binding and block inlays, 3x3 headstock, a la Albert King.
Okay.
Paul's V was stolen just before the recording of Kiss's second album. During the meet and greet, just before getting to personally meet them, so before you meet them, because I can't read, you overhear that Gene and Paul would eventually find their replacement musicians to carry the band into the future. So, would you rather? A. Sell the guitars back to Gene and Paul, name your price, and you have to say how much. Or fulfill Gene or Paul's desire for you to replace one of them, playing their historic guitars, earning fame and fortune as the band's newest replacement? So which one are you going to do? You're going to sell the guitars and make a quick fortune? Or are you going to join Kiss and actually be the new guys dressed up in paint, wearing all the glam and the high-heeled or the high platform, whatever?
Boots.
That's right.
The boots.
He gave up on.
I just couldn't finish. The last word, I gave up on it, and I just said
Boots.
shoes, boots.
Okay, so let's resummate this challenge.
Okay.
Tony.
So if I understand correctly, you, meaning whoever's going to answer, owns 2 early Kiss guitars that have been out of circulation for a long, long time.
Yep.
And the boys want to get a new band together. And you have 2 options. You can sell them back their original guitars for a pretty penny, or you can become the newest Kiss member. Do you have to play those particular guitars?
No, it's either, sell the 2 guitars and name your price, so like $3 million or whatever, or you become a part of the actual Kiss
Okay. All right.
franchise.
I think we understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, Tony, what are you doing?
I am selling the guitars back to the boys. I do not look good in black and white makeup. And, I'm of a certain age. Actually, I guess those guys are.
Oh, you're a certain age, all right.
They're a hair older than me, but I don't work well in spandex.
No, nobody wants to see that.
Don't get that picture out of your mind, Todd.
Yeah.
And don't you have to say how much you're going to sell them for? Wasn't that part of the deal?
It's a pretty penny.
How much?
I'm going to sell them for $35,000 each. How's that sound?
Wow.
Wow, you're a cheap date.
Well, I was going to say $1 because, it'd be cool to get them back their original instruments, but
Right.
They wouldn't care.
No.
They would just say, "Yeah, thanks for the guitar, man."
Let's see here. Jared.
Be in the Kiss band and inherit all the goodies that come with the backstage antics and all the good stuff that they were known to do back in the day. Of course, I wouldn't be married anymore. But if it were today,
Sounds like a win-win.
if it were today, at this point in my life, I would just name my price, which would be $5 million for each guitar.
Oh, you're crazy. They wouldn't pay that kind of money for that.
Well, yeah, the thing said pay your price. It said name your price. I mean, it
Yeah.
said name your price. That's the price, and that's what
Well,
you
see,
get.
I'm a nice guy. I'm going to give them both a deal, and they'll
$5
remember
million
me.
bucks might be nothing to them, especially to Mr. Billionaire Paul Stanley.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, the other guy.
Gene Simmons. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll definitely take the payout. And I want to speak for Great Lakes pickups, guitar pickups. He would, I'm telling you right now, I'm 100% sure that he would join the band. So since he wrote the Would You Rather, I'm going to speak for him and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but yeah, you're going to join the band. I know that. So.
Okay.
Well,
No.
What about you, old Joe?
we're going to find out from Tye first.
Oh, yeah. You want to leave Ty?
I wanted an option C. Like I was thinking that can I sneak away with the guitars, but it's not really an option.
You can't.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna sell them at a similar to earlier. I think I'm gonna try to sell them back at a reasonable price. I'm not gonna join the band. I honestly it's like you don't want to meet your heroes kind of thing. Like I don't think I would ever find myself worthy with those gentlemen. So yeah, I tried to sell them back. I would probably go in the ballpark of the 30 to 35. But then again, I was also thinking if you did say 5 million each, like you had mentioned, Todd, or someone had mentioned,
Jared.
I honestly they might say no, and then I get to keep them anyways. So that might be it. I think I'm going to go 5 million a piece, and they're going to say no, we're not paying that money.
No, they won't.
That's a clever twist. But I like the fact your initial response was to be reasonable.
That was the initial response. I really want the guitars, though.
But you could always build them.
I know, but it's not those guitars.
I know. Todd?
I mean, I remember, I've seen them a bunch of times. I remember them as a kid. Like I would want the curtain to drop, and I would want to experience that, and I would want to be like playing.
What would your design be? Your makeup design?
Well, yeah, but they're replacing.
No, you don't have. No, when they replace guitar players, they change their makeup.
They don't entirely. Yeah, because they got away from that because it didn't work out so well.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that would be really, really fantastic. Just even if it was for just one show.
Okay, so who are you going to replace?
Well, not Paul. Are you kidding me? Nobody can replace that guy.
Right. Your tongue isn't nearly long enough for Gene.
Well, I don't know. I guess it would have to be replacing. Well, you can't replace any of them. That's the problem. I just want to go on stage. Don't put me in that corner.
Okay. I back off. He's having an attack.
I think I could do a pretty good G now.
Okay.
Yeah, stomp around. That'd be great. That'd be cool. It'd be fun. Why not? Right?
Why not?
I wouldn't have the pressure of going like, oh my god, I can't mess up the solo. I just have to point a lot and and stomp around. It'd be great. It'd be fantastic. They're so great live. I mean, it's great. That was a very clever one, Mr. Mann. Thank you for sending that out to us.
You're welcome, Todd.
Yeah, you bet. Tony, we need to thank a few people.
Yes, Todd, because at this point of the show, there's a special group of people we love to thank. These are our executive producers. Now, an executive producer makes this show possible. And many of you out there might be wondering how you can become an executive producer. Well, it's very simple. Go over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. Check out a couple different levels in which you can participate, become a sponsor, a patron of this very podcast, and make it possible. That's all. Right. What's it all about. Each level comes with some really nice thank you gifts and opportunities to win great stuff. It's just incredible. But there's one thing more, Jared. What is that?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So special thanks to these executive producers: Moon Guitars, Vader and Pedals, John Helverson, Rick Calhoun, Trevor Gunberg, Elad Mizrahi, Mike D, Richard Kendall, Mark Garton, Matt Hart, James White, Justin Jones, Anthony Gemalero, Bill Gola Guitars, John Esterly, Anthony Lathrop, Stefan Lamb, Michael Senchuk, Ken Sayers, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Tom Barazin, Rusty Sneeden, Ralph Gottschalk, Don Kloss, Gregory Randall.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
Keep going.
Well, I'll have to speak a little louder, I guess, miss. I think I left off with Gregory Randall, Brett Hogarth, Eric Hammer, Stuart George, Michael Furman, Andrew DeHaan, and James Bell. Oh, and James Romer.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Well.
Well, Todd, there's more, though. Every time you interrupt, and I have to remind you.
Sorry.
I want you to start listening to these podcasts. So special thanks. There's another group of executive producers. We call them our grand poobahs. These are the top of the heap, the creme de la creme. And they wear a fez upon their head whilst listening to the podcast.
That's right.
So special thanks to these grand poobahs: Tommy Manasco, Ricardo Iguereda, David Kaminga, Brandon Wound Pickups.
That's right.
Hex Matos, Michio Murakishi, Bob Crouch, Jack Cadian, Sam Jett, Tyler Rhines, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, James Pennington, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Science of Sound, Brian Robinson, Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, Michael Van Zant, Tim Nowak, Jonathan Daly, Martin Cliff, Sean S. David Poe, Billy Spitfire Unlimited, Congregation Gear Demos, Paul Van Eppinger, Scott Sullivan, and Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Thank you.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you all. Tye, where can people find the things that you do, and how can they get one of the things that you do? Guitars, that is.
Yeah, probably Instagram is probably the best place to find me, at Shock the Fox. I mean, even if you go to my website, even my cell phone number's on my website. So if people want to find me, they can find me. I'm not trying to hide or anything. But yeah, getting one of my guitars, I think for 2023, it's not going to be that good a chance. I might have one that I'll throw out to the public. But yeah, I guess 2024 is going to be the time for you.
All right. So, and people need to, if that is what they want to do, they're going to be, you'll let them know. So maybe do you have a newsletter or something? No,
I actually announce it on Instagram. I mean, That's why I always tell people Instagram's the best place to find out. And when I announced it this year, it wasn't that long after that, before it was full, which is always weird, man.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, that's something that we all need to keep in mind. Tony, how about yourself?
Head over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the wares that I have available for sale. I, too, am a one-man operation, so welcome to the club. And shoot me an email. Let me know what you're trying to do. I'll make something special for you.
I have a project for you.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Oh, my.
For Gibson Custom.
I like Gibson Custom.
So let's see here. Jared?
Yeah. So get a hold of me, jared.allen.brandon.com. My stupid picture's on the thing, so that's me. And send me a message, and we can talk about guitars and all the fun stuff.
I like it.
Dig it. All right. You can shoot me an email, Todd@theguitarknobs.com. You can DM me on Instagram @guitarknobs. We'd love to hear from you, find out what you're up to. Share a cool story with us. Tell us what your would you rather would be. We've been getting some really good ones in, so this has been a lot of fun. And please check out flinteffects.com. Get some protection on those knobs for your favorite multi-effects unit.
What about the Valentinos?
And the Valentinos. We're dropping some new singles. More to come on that. When they do drop, I will actually be more vocal about that. But right now, it's coming.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Effects.
Tye, thank you so much for spending time with us. We really enjoyed talking with you, and meeting with you, and getting to know more about you.
No, thank you guys. It was really cool.
Thank you for what you're doing out there. Keep it up. And if you out there are now inspired to do something as far as building something, some kind of thing, reach out to the people that we have on the shows. They want to talk to you. And there's a whole community out there for support. But the first thing you got to do is take the step to do it. So get out there and make some stuff, everybody. Have a fantastic Guitar Week. Say hi to me at NAMM. And subscribe!
Yeah!
I'm a little more professional.
Wow.
More than what you think I am.
All right.
Why am
All right.
I going to do that?
Here we go. Pressure's on, Tony. Can you handle it?
I can handle it!
Your dogs?
There,
Are you comfortable, Jared?
I think we all are now. Let's proceed, my friend.
What, you want
Can
us
we
to tee
play-
you up? I didn't know you were going to jump right in that. We can tee you up, okay?
Yeah, do the El Camino thing. I like that.
Okay.
Jared. Hello, Luke. I am your father.
Lee la lee lo lee lao. Hey, Jared.
Can you hear me?
How far away are you from the mic?
Well, now I've got it pulled almost right up below me.
Okay, that's probably we don't want to get any closer, that's for sure.
Okay.
Can you put it behind you?
And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.